Good morning, dear friends.
Good morning.
Very lovely to see you this morning. There's a little book here that I was given a long time ago, Tales of the Magic Monastery by Father Theophane, the monk, the Trappist monk. And they're remarkable little, I don't know what you'd call them, fables, fantasies. I picked one, but there's another one that just popped to mind. It's very short. Yeah, this is not the one I thought of, but I'll read this and then the other one. Oh, I'm going to record the Sunday recording, Sunday the something of January.
Recording in progress.
There we go. The problem is heaviness. Let me tell you something that happened on the last day of my retreat. I told the guest master that I didn't think I'd be able to get back soon because I wouldn't have the time. He came right back with, the problem is not time. The problem is heaviness. He turned and went downstairs, returning with a little carpet. Here, take this. It's a magic carpet. If you just sit on it and let go of your heaviness, you can go anywhere you want. It's not a question of time. I have come to know that it's true. People laugh at me when I tell them. Will you laugh too? All right. Stay there. Or this one, The Well. Up there, each one gets what he wants. Up there, each one gets what they want. I came there a wounded man, sorely hurt by my brothers. I went to the well as directed and shouted down, solitude. That's what I got. What a relief. You have no idea how I needed that rest. After a few years, however, I began to long for community. I thought of the example and teaching of Christ. Was it right to be alone so much? So I went to the well. Community, I shouted. I got it. Beautiful for a while. Well, there were ups and downs. At one point, it got so distressing that I went to the well and shouted, death! I died. Peace at last. My troubles were over. I really enjoyed it. It wasn't long, though, before I got to thinking, well, life. At least you're alive. It isn't all that bad. It's up to you. It's what you make of it, and you can help people. Here, what can I do? I began to wish I could go to the well and get my life back, but I couldn't get there, and if I could have, I had no breath to shout. I was just dead. Couldn't someone else go and shout for me? It didn't seem to occur to anyone. They saw me lying there, but no one thought to bring me back to life. Why were they so thoughtless, so selfish? At last, someone did think of it. They went to the well and called down, life for my brother. I rose from the dead. Oh, to be alive again, to breathe, to see, to walk, to hear, to relate to people. But where was that man who raised me up? Where was that person who raised me up? I asked everyone I met, have you seen the person who raised me from the dead? They thought I was crazy. No one comes back from the grave. Called down the well for you? You call down for yourself, not for someone else. I searched everywhere. And you know, I passed many a grave before it finally occurred to me that someone else might be longing to return to life. I ran to the well. Life for everyone. Ah, then I saw in the water, way down there, the face of the one who had raised me from the dead. We can and do go through life pretty dead, not feeling much, constricted in our emotions. And then something happens and we get the spiritual bug. It's quite contagious. It does pass from person to person. And then we set off on our quest. Haltingly at first, uncertain, lots of doubts. But we keep coming back. We keep coming back. We keep gathering together. We come to the meditation hall. And there we see our friends, our real friends, our Dharma friends. People who will be willing to talk with us about the strange things we're experiencing in the mind. We start doing things like calling it the mind rather than my mind. We start describing emotions as phenomena that happen rather than the truth. And if we're really lucky, we find a living, breathing tradition, which actually can bring us home. So let's sit together now. We might remind ourselves of the refuges. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma. I take refuge in the Sangha. Maybe I'll just do this. What does it mean to take refuge? It means to come here to the refuge when the going gets rough. There are lots of refuges. We can take refuge in our various compulsions and addictions, in working, in relationship, in children, in all kinds of unstable and unsuitable refuges. But there is this that's awake right now. There is reality, the truth of impermanence. And there is the lineage of our friends, our forebears, our teachers, and now our coterie of friends who gathered together to actually practice. So let us notice the obvious. There's a body sitting here. It breathes. How intimately can we embrace the sensations of breathing? Each breath has a beginning. Let us bring awareness and the sensations of breathing together. Each breath also has a rising to fullness. The chest and abdomen expand. Then a decline, and then a disappearance. Of course, there's more to human experience than just breathing. There's the whole realm of thoughts. Thoughts, the past, the future. Evaluative thoughts. I like this, I don't like that. Planning. Rehashing old conversations. Worrying. They're all just part of our normal human set of attributes. But the Buddha discovered something else. He discovered that what we really are is none of this, or is all of this. And that a doorway into that allness is mindfulness. Being aware of what's happening right now. Right now. This present moment is exactly as it is. It's like this. There's breathing in and breathing out. There's the wandering mind. There's the mind of desire or disliking. The mind of restlessness and agitation and worry. The mind of sleepy sloth and torpor dullness. The mind of doubt. And beneath them, all the emotions. We're such emotional beings. And so we sit in the place of stability and awareness. We observe the breath, the actual sensations of breathing, and anything else that arises. And we make a concentration practice of coming home to breathing. It's really all very simple. Sounds may arise. They're just like thoughts. They come into being, they exist for a little while, and then they disappear. We plant ourselves like trees or rocks. Like those creosote bushes in the Mojave Desert whose roots go down 50, 60 feet. We root ourselves in the present. Impulses to scratch and drink and adjust the posture arise, and to some significant degree we just bear with any discomforts that arise in the body. Unless we learn to observe discomfort and dissatisfaction, we'll never really grow very much. We'll always be driven to go for something new, get rid of something. Of course, it doesn't mean we torture ourselves. That's silly. The Buddha spoke of this path as the middle way. It's somehow between self-indulgence and self-mortification. There's a third way. It's this. It's being alive in this moment. The present moment reveals itself exactly like this. Breathing in the reality of the body as it breathes in is exactly this. It's a very useful and compassionate observation to notice how much of the time you are lost in trance. Sometimes at the beginning, people say, "Oh, I'm not present 10% of the time." And then with a little practice, it becomes perhaps shockingly clear. I'm only present about 5% of the time. What's happened there? Awareness is growing. And then the task before us is very clear. It's to be awake in this moment, to wake up from the greed, from the hatred, from the fear. To be here with the simplicity of breathing in and breathing out. When awareness is present, arising with the arising breath, present with the thought, there's no time. Time arises when the mind is reflective about time, when it's looking for benchmarks, someplace to drive a stake and say, I'm here. And so sometimes in meditation we start wondering, how long is it going to go on? When will it be over? My leg hurts. This is, of course, totally natural, normal. And so we become aware of that. That becomes our meditation object. Here is impatience. And we hold it in sweet, loving compassion. And we weave into our practice the profound blessing. I aspire to love and accept myself exactly as I am in this moment. Satisfied, unsatisfied, patient, impatient, irritated, tranquil, however we are. This moment is like this. May all beings everywhere share in the merits of our practice. In a way, that's a wish that may I recognize that what I am is that I am all life. All beings. Well, I invite you to join me in the Feast of Faces. Hello, Claire. Welcome aboard.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Anytime. Every time. Weekday mornings too, if you want. So, look at these faces. Some I haven't seen in a while. One or two I hadn't seen before. Hello, Karen, by the lake. Hope you're well.
Hi, Robert. I'm great.
Yay. Oh, my. Well, it's not too long, I hope, before those of us that live in Portland will be able to get into the center again. I am leaving at 12:02, 12:05 on Saturday next week on a plane for Houston and Costa Rica. And I am tearful as I say it. I am ready to unplug. And I'll be gone for 2 weeks. And everything will continue in these gatherings the same in my absence. The other teachers of PIMC will be taking the chair. I have a little show and tell. I like to do that, as you know. Let me see. Here we go. This is, maybe do this first. Okay. Most of you know that we had a fire. This is how it ended. We lost our electricity, we lost the internet, we lost the fence, and the building was saved. Mish Makazi has been busy as a beaver this week. Here she is, full gear. Here's what it looks like now. It's a much better gate, a wider gate. And it looks like this on the inside. And it looks like that on the outside when it's locked. Yay, Mish, thank you. Oh, and this is, well, this is here to demonstrate the greed factor. We have a dish for our dog, which has little narrow, she has to work hard to get the food, but that was in the dishwasher. So I gave her food in a bowl, and so here we are, one of the causes of suffering, greed, hatred, and delusion. Here's the greed factor. All right, that's enough. Yes, I know that in me, that factor. Hang on. What's going on here? Oops. I popped out completely of the... Oh, no, maybe that's it. But then there's other news, which is this. Some of you have seen this. This is Jeannie Mooneyham last Thursday morning with the first entrance to PIMC by someone in a wheelchair. Since 2004, we knew we needed a ramp and doors and ADA restrooms, and now it's working. I want to come back to you for a minute.
Robert, that particular clip did not copy into connections.
I know, I don't know why. I'll go back and do it again.
Maybe you have to share it somehow. I'm not sure.
I did them both the same way. Who knows? I will redo it. But then here, there's a little more video I want, or a little more show and tell I want to do. Where is it? Oh, it's here. All right. On Wednesday afternoon, 4 new couches will be delivered to PIMC. There will be 2 of this one and 2 of this one. For our spiffy new living room. Thank you to everyone who has contributed to this amazing process. And yeah. I guess while I'm doing this, I feel another impulse to do one more thing, which is this. Make this bigger. Where do I look for it? Here? Oh yeah, it's a ways back. Maybe it's in my favorites. Thank you for your patience. Thank you for your patience. Ah, here it is. This is the There's a new door here now going out. It has lovely windows. But this is the color of the new living room. This is the carpet, obviously, before we took off the plastic that was on to protect it. And then here, this plaque with its own light system is this. And you can read it when you're there. You may be able to see the Buddha in the background here. This is the garden Buddha. This man is Ron Nato, and this is Ann Nato Campbell. They are cousins, or no, they're in-laws. And between the two of them, and this is Ron in China, a very famous Buddha in China, I believe. And the plaque tells the story of Ron being diagnosed with terminal cancer. He had pancreatic cancer. And he asked two separate cancer physicians at OHSU who he could see to die consciously. And they both pointed in my direction from my years of working and training hospice people, I think. So he came to see me. And then we established quite a friendship over the next year and a bit. I met with him almost 50 times. And I was very present with his family at the time of his death. And along the way, he heard me speaking of our huge challenge. We had raised $57,000 in order to build the ramps, and we took the drawings to the city, and the city said, well, what are these rooms that are underneath the meditation hall? And when we said, oh, those we rent out to clinicians, and that's part of our business model, we raise $40,000 or so in rent. And they said at the city, well, but those rooms are not permitted. They never went through the permit process. And so in getting them permitted, the city said, well, of course, we have to do a fire life safety review. And in the fire life safety review, we cut a hole in the wall in the Dharma Hall and discovered that this building is made out of piled bricks. It's what's called an unreinforced masonry building, which meant that in order to continue operation once that's discovered, and there are 10,000 or 20,000 unreinforced masonry buildings in the city. Anyway, if we were going to get the offices licensed, et cetera, we committed to making the building seismically safe. And the first stage of that is what we've just completed. And that cost $680,000. That's a lot of money. And $500,000 of that came from Ron Nato and Ann Nato Campbell. 57 of it was what we raised for the ramp. And there was incredible generosity from the community as we went about the building process. And at the time of her death, Ruth Dennison gave us $225,000. So we've used a chunk of that. And we now have a building that is not really seismically safe, but we're a big step of the way. Over the next 7 years, we're going to raise another $800,000. And we have plans for that. We're applying to foundations, and also I'm going to get some help with some of the people that I've met in this process to introduce me to their friends who would be happy to participate in a philanthropic support of a mission such as ours. So we will pull it off as we always have. When we bought the building, we raised in 1 week $475,000 in cash and promises. So we've always been very fortunate, and we will come to you too to give what you can. But I'm sharing that because when you come to the center, you will see this plaque, which is printed on aluminum. It's a gorgeous thing. Elizabeth Anderson, Ron's widow, put that together. So it's an amazing, amazing project. It's been huge. It's part of why I'm so wiped out. Tears. Yeah. I've had a remarkable last week in that I have somehow or another had a breakthrough, and I've been delegating things, not just for my absence, but having other people take over a lot of the roles I've been fulfilling. So I'm very happy with that. And I want to thank Kat Sela here, who is helping me in an assistant role, which is incredibly useful, and she will be the person to connect with if you need something in my absence. Kat at portlandinsight.org. She will be able to reach me. I'm really disconnecting from the internet, which is very unlike me. But she will be able to reach me if need be. One other announcement. On Tuesday night, the 1st of February, we're having a meeting hosted by the Portland Insight Meditation Community, Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. The Belonging Committee. I've done a bunch of reading now and done some trainings, and I've realized how deeply unconscious I've been about race and oppression. I've always done my best, but of course ignorance is just where we are when we don't know better. And the one line, I forget who it came from. I've had several trainers and listened to a couple of books and read a couple of books. The one line that's really struck for me is this: that I, as the guiding teacher of PIMC, want to be attentive to the quietest voice in our community. Some of us are so quiet we never squeak a word, or we never even show up, because our experience is that we're so unwelcome. And that's a problem in a Dharma community. Not that the community can solve it all. We can become a more and more welcoming place, and then each person has to face their own karmic issues around whether they can open to that or not. But so our intention is to remove as many obstacles as we can. And this meeting is another step on that journey. I'm going to start it with just a few minutes of maybe a little meditation, and then it's probably what I'm saying here. And then Vic is going to take over. He's the chair of the committee, and speak a little bit about what we've done. And then Kat will have the stage with her incredible PowerPoint presentation reporting what we learned about the community, from the questionnaire that we sent out 5 or 6 months ago, about our observations about diversity and the barriers that we have. And then we're going to have some discussion. And then we will share with you the diversity, equity, and inclusion statement, which we've worked on. And then more feedback. And we're really wanting to hear from you. what do you have to contribute to this waking up that we're involved in? And I'm prompted to say something else. 3 years ago, Jennifer took me in a certain way to New Orleans, where she went to school. She loves it there. She's gone for many years to the Jazz Fest with her best friend since primary school. And I went, and we had a wonderful time, and the music and incredible dining and ridiculous overeating. But then we also went to the Whitney Plantation, which is one of 2 or 3 monuments to slavery. And it blew my socks off. I had no idea. I truly had I'd done a little reading, but I had no idea what a monster this slavery thing was. It's one thing to read about it and pay a little lip service to it, but it's another to see the iron box that was built in Massachusetts and sent there in order to hold the recalcitrant slaves. And then I started reading a little bit. I read The Half Has Not Been Told, and Black Like Me, and a few other powerful texts that really kind of overwhelmed me, actually. And I came to understand. Hope this is okay. I learned so much. That one of the things I learned was that the wealth of the Western world was created on the backs of enslaved people between 1800 and 1860. And so the very foundations that I and we live upon come out of that unbelievable period. There is at the Whitney Plantation, there are walls that they've put the names of known enslaved people. And there are 400,000 of them. Those were just the known ones. So we can't fix that. But we can wake up to not the remnants, but the ongoing structures of that. And we can use that to further our own awakening, to blow open the doors of our compassion, to realize just how incredibly difficult life is. And it's not that I should stop soon, but hence we're doing our little part as a community with our diversity, equity, and inclusion process to empower women, to make our doors more friendly to people of all races and colors. We've had it in our statement of purpose from the very beginning, but we're trying to be more practical about it and actually make it more alive. And so, all of that to say, please come on Tuesday night, and please chip in your 2 cents. Not money, but your opinions, and help us do this, I think, really noble work of creating an organization which is really healthy and alive and welcoming to everybody. And I guess I want to say one more thing. It's not like we're just starting out at this. We've been doing it since the beginning as we've realized what we need to do. So that's your invitation, longer than I anticipated. So, Mr. Dalton, are you capable of standing up and moving still?
Yes, sir.
It would appear.
It would appear I have another breath or two to take. So I invite you all to stand and get acquainted with the space around you so you can open up your wingspan and move with me. Or you can just sit and be quiet and watch. But if you like to stand and move, it's time.
Jim, there's some music in the background. Is that from your house?
I think so. Hang on. We have another prayer meeting in the other room.
I see.
Always something, right?
Always something.
Okay. So, we begin this mindful movement, which is really got its base in the Asian culture of Qigong and Tai Chi, which has been invented and cultivated and sustained by humans just like us for thousands of years, dealing with dukkha. How do you deal with dukkha? You need to take some time in a systematic way. Take some time on a regular basis to reset your nervous system, because dukkha is coming at us all the time. It's part of how we function as humans. So we stand and we sway back and forth with the idea of soothing our nervous system and allowing the weight to shift back and forth to massage muscles that have been held still and they've been drawn in by the impact of dukkha in our lives. Some of that dukkha is physical, some of it's emotional, some of it's spiritual, but it's a ongoing process of pausing, sinking, breathing in, and massaging the shoulder muscles that get so tense, reacting to the dukkha around us. We naturally, as humans, we react to that. So we take some time. Qigong means work with your energy on a regular basis. Gong is, did you do it 10 minutes every day last week? Gong is regular practice. It's not long, effortful, overextended effort. It's easy movement to reset the nervous system. Lifting up and then out and feeling how the nervous system responds to opening. What can I do to open more mindfully, more generously? Being generous to the body that's undergoing so much dukkha all the time. I make time to be generous to this body with smooth, easy movement. Hopefully with other people, enjoying this reset together. lifting overhead, just pausing, feeling the release upward, engaged with extension and stretching, and then just weave back and forth, paint a rainbow across the sky. It doesn't take long to reset the nervous system if you're conscious of moving slowly, of using the breath to guide you. As you lift, breathe in. As you release down, breathe out. In and out. Tying the breath to the movement makes it easier to reset the nervous system. Releasing both arms now. Pausing. What are the effects of this movement? Noticing the breath coming in, going out. And then on the next exhale, sink. Cross the wrists, come up, and release out to the side. Again, tying the breath to the gesture helps reset. Exhaling down, inhaling up. Feeling the chest cavity really expand as you come up. And then letting go, letting go, letting go. How can you make this easier? Make it a better gift to your body. Easy, easy, easy. Engaged with new breath. Patiently releasing. A new gift. And pausing. Relatively still. The body maintains balance and stillness by these tiny little micro adjustments. You can feel various parts of the body, tiny little movements. The body has a wisdom of balance and allowing some areas to rest while other areas are engaged, and it shifts. It's a little current of movement through the whole body. When we get still, we can feel that. But then again, we come to a point of closing our work together and make it more of a ritual out of it by sinking and opening to the side and drawing in all the release and relaxation that we've cultivated. We're purposely cultivating release for a body that's been tied up in knots in all sorts of ways. Physically, emotionally, perhaps a restless mind that hasn't been content with anything until this release, this. And then feeling gratitude to everyone that's practiced with us. Bring our hands together. Feel the contact between two palms right in front of the heart. Bowing. And I'll take a moment to invite you to another Qigong workshop in the third Saturday of the month of February. And it's coming up in 3 weeks. So you'll find a link to that on portlandinsight.org, and I'll be putting out some announcements and connections also. But you're invited to spend a Saturday from 9 to 1, resting the body, stretching the body, breathing, meditating, and listening to some poetry and some discussions. So I hope to see you then. And I'll be back tomorrow for meditation. Thank you.
Thank you, dear Jim. I forgot to mention the time on Tuesday night is 7 p.m. and the link for it is in the top left-hand square on portlandinsight.org. The Zoom link. How's the spinning going, Denise?
Going great. I got a drum carder, and all I've been doing is processing fiber, and I'm in love.
What's a drum carder?
This thing. Can you see it very well? Whatever. It's it made my family run away from the camera. It's I don't have to use the little hand cards anymore, which are these little things. Now I've got, it's a scale up in production. So get a lot more done.
So you take the raw wool and run it through the drum carder to pull it apart, sort of?
Yeah, so right now I have raw wool that I'm pulling apart.
Yeah.
And then it goes through this thing. I spin this wheel and the wool goes through. Let's see.
Okay.
And yeah, so I spin that around. I can't do it with both hands. And then comes out as a lovely vat of fiber like this.
Look at that. So it's
And then I spin this.
Right. What a wonderful meditative practice.
It is.
Do you also knit?
Yes, but it's not as meditative for me. I get frustrated.
Lovely.
Hey, Robert, can I say something?
I hear a voice.
Shannon, it's Shannon.
Hi, Shannon. I can't find you yet. Wave your hand, would you?
Oh,
How am I not?
I might be on your second page or something. I don't know.
Oh, let me look. Let me look. I want to find you. Hang on. Wave again. Oh, there you are. Hi.
Hi. I just wanted to, I had seen an article, and this has to do with, racism and issues of American history, but about the 523 acres that were given back to the tribes in California, in the Redwood area.
Huh.
Did you hear about that?
No.
It was pretty amazing, but a group basically raised money and purchased all these lands that these tribes, it was originally theirs, and was taken, and they gave the land back to the tribes. And so that was just recently, and it was a pretty cool story to see, and I hope that happens more often. But, yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
And since I scrolled down to page 2, I discover Frank Leder. Hello. Welcome from Germany.
Hello, dear Robert. Hello, dear Portland International Sangha. Nice to see you. I was looking forward to hear your words of wisdom tonight, dear Robert.
Oh, God.
I'm very much looking forward to hosting you in July here in Germany for our retreat together and more adventures in Germany.
Mm-hmm. I'm looking forward to that too. As you know, I got my ticket, so I'm committed. Mm-hmm. And I look forward to the adventures you set up for me in Cologne. How do you say it properly? It's Köln, isn't it?
Köln is the German pronunciation. Yeah.
I look forward to those 2.5 days that you're going to set up for me.
Yeah.
Well, my words of wisdom are coming from you, actually, today, my friends. I've been sitting here with all kinds of things I might say, but I think what I want to say is, do you have any questions? What would you like to know about your Dharma practice, or what could you share with us?
Robert, it's Pamela.
It's Pamela. Hi, Pamela.
Hi. I had such an interesting practice today, and I'm in the throes of a dilemma that seems to be touching my self-identity, and that is that after 30 years of being a social worker, I can't even say it yet, but I need to make a decision in the next 24 hours about whether I'm going to let go of my license. And my entire meditation practice today was focused on, I realized that I was unable to just focus on my breathing, that it was just so present that I decided to go explore it. And I noticed tightness in my belly, and I don't know what the anxiety is about, but I feel anxious about letting go of it and thinking about it being part of my identity is I don't know what. And so, and then I've struggled with, all a license does is protect the public if I'm going to be in practice and charge for my practice, that I don't really want to work anymore. And so anyway, it's just been this interesting hamster wheel and I can usually settle pretty easily. And it has just been an unsettling in the extreme.
Are you giving up practice as a social worker?
Well, I haven't actually practiced in 3 years.
Ah.
And so probably a little more than 3 years. And so I've had my license for 2 whole years in which I didn't practice at all. But I wasn't ready to let go of it 2 years ago, and now it's come up time to renew. And in fact, I'm late. So,
do you have your continuing ed credits?
Yeah, I do have that. But I needed to have renewed by the end of December, and that was when Kevin was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And I just have been putting it off because I'm so ambivalent. And so now it's like, okay, I have one day to decide. And it feels like somehow I'll lose some of my identity if I'm no longer a licensed social worker. And I've talked to other people that have let go of their licenses, not only in social work, but in, pharmacy and other things. And I don't know if I'm looking for permission or acknowledgement that I'll still be a human being if I don't have my license. It's just an interesting fretfulness that I've had. I don't think that I'm ready to just not contribute, but I don't want to be a therapist anymore.
So you need to decide whether you're going to relinquish another piece of your costuming. Another piece of the false identity that is I, me, mine.
Mm-hmm. And it's anxiety producing.
Yeah. Well, I relate to that. I resemble that remark. Yeah.
You let go of your license, right?
Free at last. Free at last.
And you seem to still be an upright human being with,
It actually freed me to invest more fully in my identity as a Dharma teacher. But it did mean no more, well, I could word this several ways. It meant no more having to play in the insurance racket either, which is a horror all to itself.
Mm-hmm. It is.
Mm-hmm. Well, congratulations, whichever way you go. I think I know what you're doing, but are you there you are on the end of that diving board. Are you gonna bounce before you go, or are you gonna wait till the board breaks? I guess let me say one more thing. Before we know it, we're going to be letting go of it all. And one of the things that happens at some point in our lives, if we live a life, if we live into our old age, how about that? There's all kinds of deaths we go through. There's professional death. We give up our profession. There's certainly relationship deaths. Relationships end, and then that isn't there. And gradually we and sometimes very suddenly, all these roles that we play fall off. They just disappear. I was visiting my my mother-in-law last night and yesterday afternoon. And there's a very nice man there named Bob, and he's so friendly. Every time I go in, she's in memory care. Every time I go in, he introduces himself and he's happy to meet me. And I remind him of his old friend Al. And we do the same beautiful dance every time. And last night, his wife was there with their dog. And we had a couple of brief encounters. And then I approached her and said, "This is really a rough row to hoe, isn't it?" And we started talking about what it was like for her. And she got quite tearful. And she told us, by then Jennifer was with me, that Bob was, I don't know what he did, but she said he was all over California. He kept hospitals running. I don't know in what capacity. And then she said through oozing tears, and then he had this massive stroke. And this is who was left. And wow. He was 78 years old, I think, when it happened. And she comes and visits. I've seen her there several times, so she comes regularly with their dog. But he had a lot of roles fall away in a heartbeat. So it's good practice, I think, to do consciously what you're doing, to practice letting go, and then to actually experience the process of the holding on that we do. It's like, who will I be without this role? And you worked hard to get that social work degree.
I did.
And then you worked, how many years? 30 years as a social worker?
Mm-hmm.
Good
30
God.
years.
How many clients did you see?
I have no idea.
Right, but thousands of people that you were in the role of listening and caring, and so of course there's identification with it, and of course all the skills and compassion and so on that you develop playing that role don't go away.
Right.
I mean,
right.
One thing that goes away is the social work board, and that's not a bad thing to leave behind.
That is so true. That is true. And I do think about, well, what would I like to do now? Because I still feel like I have something to give, and, I feel like I just don't want to have clients. I don't want to deal with the social work board. I don't want to. This is good. But, and what I noticed in my meditation was just how tightly I wanted to hang on, let go, hang on, let go. Mm-hmm. Anxiety, could I redefine anxiety as excitement? Not quite yet. Mm-hmm. It's just an interesting process. And so, I'm caught up in it right now, but I will have to let go by tomorrow, because tomorrow is the 31st, and I think you get one month of grace in which you can pay them double what the licensing fee is. Mm-hmm. They will accept you back into the fold. So it's disturbing my equanimity. Which is
all right, isn't it? Who said equanimity was the requirement? I have another story that pops to mind. When we bought the center, 2004, I had been 12 or 14 years in my previous office, and it was a nice office. It was right near the western foot of the Ross Island Bridge, very central, and it was physically a beautiful office in a 105-year-old building. And I had a view of Mount Hood, which would now be gone with all that glass that's in there along the river. Had a beautiful view of Mount Hood, and I was in my new office, the office I inhabit at this point, and Achan Chandako, one of my monk friends, came to visit, and we were doing some modifications. We put skylights into it to make it a much nicer. It was just a little box before, and I was speaking, and he'd been to my old office, and I was speaking of my suffering in letting go of my old office to come to this new place. And he said something really very powerful, which was, Robert, we have to let go of really good circumstances too, It isn't always we're leaving something behind that, well, that sucked and I'm really glad that's over. And sometimes it's like, wow, that was amazing. And I had such wonderful experiences here. And it looks as though my life is taking me into new territory.
Feels a little bit like letting go of the trapeze before I can catch on to the next one.
And then, of course, the obvious thing about that is you got to let go before you can catch on to the next one. It's kind of like built into trapeze, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Well, happy flying, my dear.
Thank you. Without a net. No, it's not without a net. So I'm fortunate in that I don't have to make a decision based on anything other than my heart.
Yeah, right. You're going to be able to pay the bills.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a life basic survival issue decision.
Right.
Yeah, then you'd probably be making a different decision.
Yes, I would.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Happy flying.
Thank you.
I think there is something I want to say. I was talking with a friend recently and remembered this that I heard when I was in India long ago. I had a teacher by the name of Krishna. She was a wife and mother, and was going about her life. Her husband worked. Her husband was somewhat of a managerial person at a bank, and they had an Indian middle class life. They lived in a nice place, nice neighborhood. And something happened to her, or something emerged in her, where she started itching and burning. And it spread around her body and became really awful. And she was plugged into both Ayurvedic, Indian natural medicine, and Western medicine. And they did everything they could, and no one could figure out why she was having this horrible thing. She couldn't sleep. It was constant, and it would become very intense in different places. And she was freaking out. It was destroying her life. And she went to see Deepa Ma, whose name means mother of Deepa. And I met Deepa Ma in Calcutta I spent a day with her and with Deepa. Actually, I went with her to the hospital where Deepa had just had her first baby. And Deepa Ma is understood to be one of the great saints of the Theravadan tradition in the previous generation. There's a great book about her called Deepa Ma. But anyway, she went to Deepa Ma. Krishna went to Deepa Ma, who said, you have to stop and you have to sit. You have to pay attention. And she couldn't. She didn't want to. Why when you're restless and agitated and when you're hurting, sitting still is the last thing you want to do. But in the end, she probably tried every distraction she possibly could. And then she started out sitting 1 minute at a time. And then she graduated to 2, and then 3, and then 4. And she ever so slowly learned how to bear with that incredible agony of her skin being on fire, burning, itching. And no doubt she continued trying every medical thing she could as well. There had to be something. And she built up her time until it got to be, 45 minutes in an hour. And she was sitting in the middle of this horrific experience in her body. And all of a sudden, she described, her whole body caught fire. Just this incredible, unbearable burning. And then completely stopped. And then she went to Burma to practice with Tangpulu Sayadaw. Or the Mahasi, maybe, I forget which one. And she became one of the great teachers in India, in Kolkata, at that time. And I thought of this in the context of, something that's happening for me is I'm being more and more called to my meditation cushion. And it's part of that, what I think of now as the inevitable going forth, that as we discover that life is more remarkable and beautiful, and there's more love and compassion and all those things, that's real. And also there's a certain way it's empty because it's all fleeting. There's no place to take refuge in it. And so my experience has been that it's much more natural. Of course, I also am 74 years old. Maybe that's a big part of the change. And it was in the context with someone of encouraging them to take more time to sit. And from where I'm sitting, so to speak now, when I hear people say, well, I'm sitting for 5 minutes a day, I can celebrate that and say, that's really great. And it is. It's life-changing. Isn't that bizarre? Something you do for 5 minutes a day will change your life. It's because it's such a powerful intervention. But why not? If you can sit for 5, why not make it 10? If you can sit for 10, why not make it 25? Why not within a year be sitting for at least an hour a day? Now, why would you do that? Only if it makes you happier and more joyful and more loving. It'd be the only reasons to do it, and less suffering. And there's another piece, and I don't know whether I'll be able to find the words for it. I don't know that I can. When I'm busy, when I have a goal in mind, when I'm anxious, can I get this finished in time? When I'm worrying about what somebody else will think, when I'm complaining about pain in my right hip or whatever, there's an I in that. And the practice of meditation is about softening that I and tuning into a deeper truth, which is that there isn't an I. There is something. There is the entirety of the universe. There is the mystery of awareness. But if I don't give myself some time to tune into that deeper, quieter place, then I keep thrashing around on the surface. So this is, as I understand it, this is meditation beyond stress management, which is a marvelous use of meditation, and beyond psychological and emotional well-being, beyond conscious decision-making, beyond all that utilitarian purpose of it, into the fundamental existential question, which is, who am I? What am I? And the consolation prizes of life, all the the good, the pleasant, and the good, and so on. Just had a thought. I'm really looking forward to my trip that I'm going on with Jennifer. Jennifer Jennifer always plans any trip we go on, and she plans it down to the minute details. And this time she said, "I don't want to plan anything. You do it." And I've had fun doing it. I have a hotel for every night, and so on. We're staying at several really nice places, and perhaps mostly, I'm really looking forward to this as a retreat, where I'm not going to have to perform, where I'm not going to be looking out for email, where I'm not that. And I'm sure the places will be beautiful and all that, but that's not my greatest interest. I really want to have time to go quiet and to turn inward and to see what's there when there's not so much striving or responsibility. So I say this by way of encouraging regular, significant practice. It'll change you. So that's what I wanted to say. Anything you'd like to say back? I just noticed something in the chat, which normally I don't see. Avery asking about the children's program. There's a place on the front page of the portlandinsight.org, the PIMC website, to sign up if you'd like to be involved in volunteerism at PIMC. It's just starting to come underway. And the children's program will probably not be starting for a couple of months after we're open. But we'll need that time to get it together. But Avery, contact Avi and sign up on that chart software. Our plan, our idea, is to have a teacher and an assistant routinely and have parents also participate. But the way we were doing it before with a paid teacher and volunteers helping out really wasn't stable enough. So we need to bite the bullet on that and figure out how to do it in a more stable way. Hey, Frank, what have you got to say about encouraging people to practice regularly?
I usually explain it that there are two main motives why people start to meditate. One is that they don't feel well, they are suffering, so to speak, in one way or the other, and they are looking for ways, and meditation could be a way to deal with it in a better way, or understand why they are suffering, or in the long way find the cause of suffering and uproot it and end it. And the other motive why people start to meditate is that they have an intuition inside that there is much more to the regular life they have been living so far. Something greater, deeper, finer inside is calling them to a spiritual practice. And so sometimes, of course, it's both or a mixture, but either one of those two, I think, calls us to a path of meditation.
Gosh, we should teach together. Thank you, my friend. We're going to have fun on that retreat. I can see it.
Robert, it's Jai.
Hello, Jai. There you are.
There I
Hello.
am. Yeah, I just am so happy that you're going to be taking this time for yourself.
Me too. Thank you.
Yeah. And from a deep place in my heart, it just really makes me happy. So I just wanted to, that's what I wanted to say.
Thanks.
Hi, Robert. It's Carol.
Hello, Carol.
I just wanted to thank you for what you shared and say that I can totally relate to what you were saying. When my oldest daughter was 2.5, I had the privilege of traveling through Southeast Asia for 8 months with my husband, my daughter, my mother-in-law who had just retired, and her husband. And at one point I was able to hear from another traveler about a 10-day silent meditation retreat at Wat Suan Mok in southern Thailand. And it was the first retreat that I had ever done like that. And the first 3 days were absolutely hellish because I never left my daughter before.
Whoa.
And I spent most of the time panicking, thinking about how my family was going off to a beach somewhere, and they were going to let me know later where they were. And I was just panicking about her. She was very tiny, drowning in a big wave, or, being so miserable and crying and missing me the whole time. And I really just wanted to escape, but I knew there was nowhere I could go because I didn't know where they were. I didn't know the language. So I realized if I felt that panicky in this incredibly safe, nurturing environment, how would I be out on the streets of somewhere in Thailand where I didn't know anybody? And so, of course, I had to stay. And as time went on, I got more into the present. And anyway, by the end of the retreat, of course, it was like I was ecstatic. After I left, I remember being on the train going to find my family, and just thinking, this is something that every mother needs to do. This is something that I want to do again. I want to do every month. This is something that everybody has to do. It just really opened me up to just how much of the time my mind was caught up in fantasy and imaginings that were totally, because when I actually reconnected with my family, my daughter had a wonderful time with her grandparents and her father, and had done perfectly fine. So now whenever I think about that trip, that 8 months of traveling, which was really wonderful to be with family and all the, like you say, the experiences and the beauty and all of the different places I went, the highlight of that trip to this day is that 10-day meditation retreat. So it was really, truly profound. Anyway.
Wow, thank you. Was that with Buddha Dasa himself?
Yes, it was, which was another privilege.
Wow.
It was very special. And every morning, the morning readings would be from Ajahn Chah, which were so totally inspiring. So, yeah, I felt very, very lucky to have that experience.
Did he speak English well, or did he use a translator?
No, I don't think so, actually. I'm having, yeah, I think he had an interpreter, but I think I was sharing before that he loved chickens, and he always had chickens. They were sitting on his shoulders, and always chickens around him.
Wow.
It was quite a special being.
Huh. Yeah.
So anyway, yeah, that really helped creating a regular meditation practice for me, that experience.
Thank you.
So I'm really happy to be able to continue on with everybody here. So thank you all.
Do you still have snow?
Oh, just little patches. It's actually mostly gone. It's been pouring rain. We had we were really fogged in for quite a few days, very damp and chilly. And now the fog is lifted and it's just pouring rain. So anyway.
Temperate rainforest.
Yeah.
Thanks, Carol.
We are moving forward into, as you know, longer days.
That's what they say. Well, it's already noon. Let's see, is there anything else anyone would like to share or a question you'd like to ask?
I have a quick comment.
Hello,
Good morning,
Allison.
everybody, and Robert. I too, I have felt really grateful for being here this morning, because it's shown me again that about change and about you going on your trip and changing, and Pamela, and even Denise getting the great big drum Carter, and things that will make a difference in our lives. We don't even know what that might be. And I've been in a place lately of more stagnant. I've used a tool for many years in my meditation of often when I'm restless or don't fed up with what's going on in the world, I don my spacesuit and I go way out in the outer limits of the universe and look down and have that perspective and remember that it's not all so important, these things that I burdened myself with. So I'm going through a change in that, and I've decided I'm tired of doing that. I don't want to put my spacesuit on anymore. I want to learn in a different way. I want to train myself to ask more questions, because you always say, who has a question? And I've realized that I want to not think I know so much. Instead, what don't I know, and what do I want to discover? And that's a change, and it's ripe and juicy, and I want to, I guess, listen to my higher self, not just what other people have to say, but within. Because I hear this other and read books and talk to you and go to Dharma talks. And I love that. And I would never stop doing that. But I want to focus more on inward looking and asking more questions of myself. Yeah, that's one thing that I've taken away from this. And when I heard Frank say that intuition part, what am I moved to do, instead of that, or more will be revealed, that might not come intellectually. So thanks so much for this morning. It's been wonderful to be with you and everybody.
Thank you, Allison. Well, Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. I can say that and think of Ruth Dennison singing it, and we should all be in slightly different keys. That would help to be true to Ruth. May all beings receive all blessings. And not just the blessing of having a pleasant afternoon, though that'd be nice, or not just the blessing of a good mood, but the blessing of being free, the blessing of really waking up. So let's close with that chant, dear friends. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam, and then Sadhu, may it be so. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Bhavatu Sabe Mangalam. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Have a wonderful, mindful day, dear friends. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Jim Dalton.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
Thank you all.
See you tomorrow morning.
Namaste.
Thank you, Robert. Thank you, Sangha.
We're shrinking. We're shrinking.
Right.
That's always a threat. Change. Bye, Allison.
That picture makes it look, Denise, as though you're being taken over, swallowed by wool. So I hope you're safe.
I'm okay. Yeah.
It's a wonderful design. I really love to look into your window in the meeting now with the wool and your action there.
It's definitely one way that I can meditate and still get some of my restlessness out too.
I hear you. Yeah.
Hello, Bruce.
Hi. See you later.
All right. Here we go. Adios, Frank.
Bye-bye. Nice to see you, Frank.
Bye,
Here we
Jim.
go.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye, friends on Facebook and YouTube.